Welcome to our workshop today, you guys. So it's called Balance Without Burning Your PTO. And we're going to get right into it because I really want you guys to get the goods of what I have for you. We're also going to practice later on in the presentation, practice how to actually feel balanced so that later today, hopefully, you'll be able to feel that during a time where you typically would be exhausted or just not very present with your family or whatever it might be. So, without further ado, I will share my screen and we will kick this off. All right, so balance without burning your PTO. My name is Samantha Hawley. There's some new people here that are brand new to my community, so I'll do a little introduction in a bit. But before we officially get started, I would love for you to type in the chat. I want this to be as interactive as possible. I would love to know where you're from, how many kids or fur babies you have, or both if you want to share both. And then also, what is one word that describes either how you want to feel as a mom or after this workshop? I know that this workshop is called Balance Without Burning Your PTO, so you might want to feel balanced, but you also might want to feel something else. You might want to feel calm or more patient or more present, especially some of you guys are on February break this week with your kids. Maybe you don't want to be yelling at them all of the time, or maybe you want to feel inspired. So is there any word that comes to you that you're craving feeling, either in general or that you would love to feel by the end of our presentation today? Feel free to type any or all of those answers in the chat. Bree says from Pifford, New York, 3 boys, 2, 5, and 8, and validated. I love that. It's a good word. It's a powerful word. Anyone else? I'm dialing in from Batavia, New York, in between Buffalo and Rochester. I have one son that you'll soon learn. He's 4 years old, named Griffin. And a word that I would like to feel by the end of this, I didn't even think about my own answers. Peaceful. Jamestown. Haida's from Jamestown. Haida has 2 boys, 2 dogs, 3 chickens. I would love to feel more patient. Florida. Jess is from Florida, 2 boys, 6, 9, and 2 fur babies. 9, I can't believe it. 6 and a 9-year-old. Fur babies and balanced. I love it. Okay, let's move on. So, like I said, some of you guys, especially watching the recording, are newer to my world. So I wanted to share a little bit about me up front and then a little bit more about my story. But I'm a single mom, and some highlights is that I feel balanced between work and mom life, even with working full-time hours and little help. I do live next door to my parents, but they still work full time. And so my help is daycare hours and when my aunt comes over to watch my son. And so it's a lot of time with me and my son. And I am able to find that balance and not feel overstimulated. And I used to feel very stressed. Like as soon as I would end work and I would pick him up from daycare, it would be this like rush of, okay, bedtime routine or dinner routine, bedtime routine, all of that. And it would feel so rushed and stressed and overstimulated because kids, especially a 4-year-old, they don't always want to do what you want to do in the way that you want to do it. And it takes 10 times longer. But I feel like I've been able to transition from that to feeling like I have daily quality time with my son that feels fulfilling instead of stressful. When I pick him up, we have this, like from daycare, we have this moment in time where it's just us and we just hang out and it just feels so nice. Also, my 4-year-old can identify emotions, which I don't know. I always kind of thought that kids do that. But I was told from his daycare teacher that he's the only kid in his classroom that is able to like have a meltdown, which he has plenty of, but he's also able to share why he had that meltdown, what he was feeling, and why that was. And then also I was telling my therapist this, and she was like, your job is done as a mom. Like that is the most important from her perspective role in like emotional awareness with your kid. And she was just like so praising me so much for that. And I was like, I didn't even realize um that was like that cool of a thing. But the work that we're about to do today will ripple into your kids so that they also will be able to be in touch with their emotions and express those. Um, it sparked my own joy and purpose in the hardest season of my life, which was not just going through divorce, but also single parenting my son full time. And currently, I'm spending my weekends either sledding, as you can see in the picture, or battling the flu. My son just went back to daycare yesterday for the first time from having the flu for like 10 days. So we are in it right now. By the end of this workshop, you'll walk away knowing why more time and paid time off will not give you that presence and energy and balance and validation that you're seeking, and also how to feel more refreshed and present and connected with your family without changing your schedule or taking more time off. My trick to coming home from work energized in order to make memories instead of counting down to bedtime and just being done for the day. And then my 3 step framework to feeling balanced every day, not just on your days off. And if you're able to stick around until the end, that's when we're going to do some strategic journaling and the selection of my bestie workshop participant. If you didn't see, one of you guys on the workshop today will be winning a workshop for you and up to 3 friends, and that will be selected at the very end. Oh, Liz. Liz is from Richmond, Virginia. 2 sassy cat fur babies and want to feel driven. Oh, I love that word. I'm going to write that down. Driven. So good. Okay. All right, a little bit more about my story, just because it really pertains to getting to the point of feeling balanced and patient every day, no matter how busy your life is. I thought I'd pick up in 2021 because I had my son Griffin in October of 2020. So 2021 was the year that I officially was like new mom for the whole year. And I decided to work from home. Well, I was working from home anyways, but I kept my son home with me until he was 14 months old. And I did that because I thought that I wanted to be available and like witnessing all of the milestones that babies have, right? The smiling, the walking, the little glimmers of what their personality is going to be like. And because of that, I also moved closer to home. I live right next door to my parents. I also cut back my hours from working all day every day to just part-time in the morning. And I thought that I had the perfect setup, but I was more overstimulated than ever, even with having a little bit more help and working less. And what I've realized it was is I was constantly overstimulated. I was working while meal planning, right? Not even like actually sitting at my desk. I was watching Griffin and his bouncer while also texting, either responding to DMs, texting family, whatever it might be. While I was cooking dinner, I was also thinking of all the things that I didn't get to that day. And then the ultimate doom scrolling social media, especially at night. Actually, someone on our emotionally empowered call a couple weeks ago said she calls it revenge sleep, where as a mom, it's like the only time to yourself and you want more time. And so you just stay out, you're like revenge, you're like rebelling against it and you want to do things for yourself. But oftentimes that turns into things like doom scrolling. The next year, 2022, I was officially divorced. We actually separated when my son was 10 months old. But I officially got divorced in 2022, and it was hard. It was a lot of responsibility 24/7. And I was feeling not just overstimulated, but overwhelmed. I was journaling at the time, and almost every entry, it felt like I was starting saying, yesterday was hard. And I would write hard in caps lock. And I remembered that because I would go to bed each night like so drained. And this was the time where I realized I didn't want that for myself, and my situation wasn't going to change anytime soon. And so I was really digging into that, and I realized that I was self-sabotaging not just in that time, but I was reflecting back, like in my relationship, how I was showing up, why I was doing the things that I was doing, and all of that. And I realized that it was a lot of it was defaulting to self sabotage, and I was just in my own way. So then in 2023 is when I kind of like sifted through all of that. And I was like, here's the game plan. I'm like changing how my story is going to be. I started rewiring my brain using some of the things that I'll talk about later on and just taking more action. And it's when I also turned my passion for journaling and introspection into coaching. I started off with my podcast on Halloween of 2022, technically. And then from there, it just took off into private coaching first, and then an emotionally empowered group journaling membership. And then we have the self sabotage detox that I'll also talk about later. 2024, last year, the word that came to me was free. I had thought free mornings instead of spiraling, like waking up being like, here's my to do list, here's everything that I'm doing. It just felt like refreshing and guilt free resting as well. I don't mind taking time for myself. And I used to feel so much guilt if I wasn't performing. Also, distraction free time with Griffin. Like I mentioned earlier, I used to work all day, every day. And even though I'm like the busiest now that I've ever been, I'm also the most disconnected that I've ever been in the best way. And I am able to like actually be present, not just with Griffin, but with my parents and friends. And we're also doing extracurricular activities where I'm showing up for, not just going through the motions. And it feels like the ultimate patience and presence, even during meltdowns. Like I said, my son still has those. But when he has those, my nervous system feels regulated and I'm able to be there and help him through it, which makes him work through it so much quicker than the times where I know that I was like, all right, let's get through this meltdown so that we can go have dinner and we can go do all of these things. And the impromptu sick days, or as I had last week, the impromptu sick full week to 10 days. In 2025, right now, it's only February at the time of this, workshop and recording, but the word that I feel is aligned. I feel like everything is working out as it's meant to, even on the hard days. I still have hard days. I still have days where I don't feel great or parenting is just hard, right? But I feel like optimism and this positivity and this balance through it all. I also realized that I haven't had an actual relaxing vacation, like true time off, since March of 2023. But even still, I'm able to stay patient and calm and positive and all of those feelings, which I thought I needed time off for, I should say. I thought I needed those annual vacations. So, this is another opportunity for you to type into the chat. I would love to hear how you might be out of balance. And I have some ideas that came up for me, but whatever resonates with you, feel free to type it in the chat. So, maybe for you, it shows up in that you crave more time with your kids and more connected time. But when you get it, when you're home with them and they're asking you to play with them, you are distracted and you're thinking about work, or you're just exhausted, or you're thinking about the fact that you wish that you had a different life, that you could be with them more often. Maybe you do take days off, like mental health days, to rest, or vacation days, but they turn into picking up around the house. That's what it used to be for me. I would get so exhausted and be like, all right, I can tell that I'm burning out. Let me take a mental health day. My goal would be to rest on the couch, catch up on reality TV, but not even an hour in, I would see the laundry still sitting in the living room floor that I put there like 2 days ago. Or I would still see Griffin's toys on the floor, whatever. And then I'd feel this urge to like not rest and to just like pick up around the house, right? Maybe for you're counting down until the next weekend or your next vacation, thinking that that is when you'll feel refreshed. This is where did you guys see the slam laptop shut until Monday? I have friends that post that in their Instagram stories or Facebook feed every single Friday. This is what I feel like for that. They're waiting for the weekend to be like, all right, I can check out. I get time for myself. Maybe you also doom scroll or have that revenge sleep, or you're answering your child without actually hearing them. They're asking for something and you're like, yeah, 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 or cool, nice artwork, or whatever it might be. Or you're trying to shift schedules and routines so that things flow and you feel like that's helping and it might be the answer. But no matter what you do, you're always left feeling busy. Jess says, I'm a nurse, so I fully understand taking care of others, taking care of my tribe, and taking care of myself. Yes. Haida says, I want more playtime with my boys, but I'm constantly thinking I need to clean the house and do laundry, stuff I didn't do while at work or the day before. So I clean and do laundry instead, and then feel so much guilt for not playing with them. Yeah. Someone who's not able to show up live works from home. And I was talking to her about how it's more overstimulating than ever working from home because we see the mess and we always feel like, all right, I should go do this, like throw the laundry in or do the dishes for 5 minutes. And we don't. And so we have that guilt piled on top of then doing it when our kids are home. So I totally get that. So there's actually a real need to acknowledge what you just acknowledged and to reset the scale to feel balanced, because besides it just not feeling good of just whatever that is for you, overwhelmed, overstimulated, there's actual scientific proof behind continuing to feel that way. The neurological impact of staying in the I'm always busy mindset, and not just mindset, but like literally your to-do list is jam-packed and you always feel like something needs to get done, is memory formation. Our memories are not, our brains are not able to create memories or retain them when we are on autopilot, when we are looking at that endless to-do list, like I saw Liz just said. Our brains are impacted by this, and it makes us miss out on small moments with our kids or with our friends and really being there, right? And in turn, us feeling like our needs are being met too. There's also decreased patience and increased reactivity when we're on autopilot and just checking off the things on our list. And there's an impact on emotional intelligence, both yours and your kids. When you're not slowing down to focus on how you're feeling because of what it is that you're doing, that ripples into not just how you feel, even more anxious, even more overwhelmed, even more impatient, but then your kids too, they're learning not to check in on themselves. They're learning to just keep doing, 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 or avoid, avoid, avoid. So let's dive into why time off, your PTO, your vacation days, isn't the solution and what to do instead, what you really came here for. So the biggest mistake, I just love this analogy. The biggest mistake that moms and women in general make when trying to create more balance for themselves in their life is that they spend all their time and energy trying to patch the wrong hole. So obviously this is a flat tire, knowing that there are three other tires on the car and you could be focusing on the other three, but we're so focused on basically the wrong things. And the wrong things in this instance are these things like we think we need to have a more flexible schedule, where if we just had that, then we would feel like we'd have more time with our kids. If we could do a 4-day work week, if we could work that out, which I've heard from a lot of people that I talk to, then that's the solution. Or I need more paid time off because my work doesn't offer nearly as much as I need. If you had better time management skills, or if you just read more self-help books or listened to podcasts and whatnot. So we're trying all of these things and it's not working because all of those things that I just mentioned are external. They're things that we think will impact how we feel, but it's not touching base with what's happening in our bodies. So I want to go through each one. The more flexible schedule, because you might still be thinking like, yeah, but that 4-day work week sounds nice. With a more flexible schedule, it seems like that might be good for more work-life balance and presence and patience and even validation and feeling more driven when you are at work. But working when it's more convenient for you, whatever that schedule might look like, doesn't change the fact that when you aren't working, you're still on autopilot. You're still people pleasing. You're still not present, right? It's like when I worked last, my flexible schedule was literally cutting my hours in half, and I was still more overstimulated than ever. The 4-day work week. One extra weekend day might feel nice, and it might feel like, yes, this is like the break that I needed, but the rest of your work week is feeling unbalanced, right? When Monday comes, you're back to the, oh, all right, got to go all in, and you like get thrown off balance again. And so you think that this one extra day is the fix instead of focusing on internal changes so that every day can feel like that fifth day of the work week where you get off. More PTO also is not the fix, because taking more time off doesn't mean that you're spending it in the right way that's rejuvenating on a soul level. And even if it is, even if you do go to a retreat that like is so refreshing, or even if you do have a day home from work where you actually do rest, that is not sustainable. We can't rely on just taking days off of work to recharge our batteries, feel full again, and then our mom mode hats come on when the kids come home, or our work hat goes on the next day, and we're back to square one. Better time management doesn't work because trying to control your time, while it can be a good thing, I'm pro routines and schedules and all of that. But when you're doing it from a core belief, again, when you're not checking in on yourself, and that belief is that you're not enough, you're not doing enough, you're going to keep filling your schedule with something, whether it be more chores for yourself or more activities for your kids, and you're going to keep feeling busy. Time, this is really the root of it. Time isn't the issue. It's how you feel during the time that you have. That's what we need to focus on. Self-help podcasts, books, and all of that. Again, I am pro self-help stuff. I have tons of audio books and whatnot. But my thing with this is that they're not targeted at the real issue. We grab books that are like mainstream, that are just being really good promoted on social media. Like right now, I feel like the let them theory is everywhere. And yes, I'm reading that one. But so we gravitate to those ones because it's what everyone else is reading, or we gravitate towards ones that address what we think the problem is, like time management, instead of going deeper onto what the real issue is. And just a side note, I don't know if you're like me, but I'm also listening, not reading, to so many books right now. And they're all like, download this PDF at the work, at the, they're at this website. And I never actually apply. I never like fill out the worksheet. I never take the time to journal on what they say to journal on. And I'm a journal coach, right? So how often do you actually do the things that the book is suggesting that you do? Bree says, avoid, avoid, avoid. That's what ends up happening. Yes, I feel you, girls. So here's what no one is telling you about all of that. It's not your work, like what you do. It's not the hours that you work. It's not your schedule. It's not your paid time off that's draining you. That's not the real reason that you feel imbalanced or impatient. And it's not your time management or needing more time. We always say, mom or not, we always are like, oh, if I only had like an extra hour to my day, or if I just had more time on vacation or whatever it is. What it is the default thought that people think they need that time off to relax, to catch their breath, to reset, or to be present with their kids. Again, we think, okay, if I had that fourth or fifth work day of the week, if I could have that whole day to be with my kids, that would feel amazing. Only to feel that amazingness for that day or for a few hours before reality hits, before going back into the office, before the kids come home. And I've seen this not just with myself. I've already mentioned to you how I've worked half days and I was the most overstimulated than I've ever been. But I've also had clients who took extended leave and they still felt disconnected. It felt good while they were taking the time off, but then they got back to like reality and they started working again and they started work just from this like emptiness almost. So I want to quickly share just Christy's story. Christy was one of my private clients, and she has a good 9 to 5 job. And she was telling me our very first call, she was saying how she would come home from work and she would be filled with like this overwhelm and almost anxiety to start picking up the house and to make a healthy meal for herself because she wanted to eat healthy and whatnot. But all of this overwhelm and anxiety and whatnot was so overstimulating to her that what she ended up doing was eating like fast food, picking up fast food on the way home and not doing any of the chores. I remember her saying she would sit on her couch while watching TV while looking at the laundry of the things that she thought she should be doing. And it was weighing heavy on her. Like that's literally why she signed up with me initially. And by the time of the end of our work together, she didn't change anything about her schedule. She still worked 9 to 5. In fact, she got promoted to a CFO position, which has way more responsibilities. And we had to work through some people pleasing and conflict management for that. But she ended work at 5 p.m., going home and cleaning her house, not from like oh, this is like chores that I have to do, but because she wanted a clean space. It was like inspiring for her to show up for herself and her house in that way. She also had a Pinterest board of like all the home renovation projects that she wanted, and she was doing that. She was offline, off of her phone. She was taking longer walks with her dog. And she felt just like so connected to herself and more peace in her life, even though literally nothing changed about her job. Nothing changed about the time that she has for each of those things, about when she was at work or when she was at home or when she was with her husband. So the real problem, not just is like the time thing, but it's the reason that you're overwhelmed and overstimulated is because of how you're carrying your work and all of your responsibilities mentally and how you release it. And how you do those things drain you and keeps you from being truly present at home. And if you're thinking, I always carry my responsibilities. I always carry my work with me. There's always kids screaming at me for things and I'm never able to release it for whatever reason. It's not a bad thing that you're not able to release it. It's not a you thing. It's literally your subconscious that 95% of our behaviors, of our thoughts, of everything is subconscious. Only 5% of what we do on a day-to-day basis is truly intentional. So, poor work life balance is a result of that subconscious self sabotage. We're overwhelmed and stressed and overstimulated and anxious, and all of the things because of how we're operating internally. So, another opportunity to drop it in the chat. How would you feel if you were balanced? And I put that in quotes because I kind of want you to reflect back on the word that you already shared. So if you were driven, how would that internally feel? If you were validated, if you were patient, if you were balanced, how would that feel? Bree says content. Yeah. Jess earlier said, I think it's the false notion. Oh, that extra time would fix a certain problem for you when in reality something new, the new problem will occupy that space. Yes, there's always something new that comes up. Even my dad, not to throw my dad under the bus, but when he gets overwhelmed and stressed, or when he isn't that and there's more space in his life, he bought a cabin for himself and then he started working on the cabin 24/7, and then he bought a motorcycle. And now he's like fixing that up. And now that that's kind of coming to fruition, he got a dog. Like he literally keeps filling his space with something new. That is a lot of work. I forgot how much a puppy takes out of you, by the way. It's a lot. Accomplished, says Liz. Not chaotic, peaceful, less anxious, less stressed, relaxed. Love it. Yes. So, in order to feel that way, less stressed, less anxious, balanced, accomplished, we need to start acting differently from the inside out. And so today, I want to share with you 4 sabotaging patterns keeping you from those things, from experiencing those things on a daily basis, not just when you have the time off or you do have that space in your life. So, some of you guys are already part of the self-sabotage detox, and you know that there are actually 10 different ways that we sabotage. Today, I'm just going to go over 4 of them and their impact that they have. If you can relate, I have the little green hands up. Feel free to type it in the chat. I would love to see how it relates for you or not relates. The first one is the overachiever. This is feeling worthy only when you accomplish something and are being productive, when you're doing, right? Also, feeling worthy when other people think highly of you. When they don't, you feel like you're underachieving and something is wrong, and you start doubting yourself when you're not performing, when you're not doing things, right? And you also doubt yourself when you are resting, when you choose to take that time for yourself. Some examples of how this shows up in your life is potentially, by the way, is always doing more. And this is for yourself. And if you have kids, your kids too. So signing up your kids for more activities, constantly keeping them busy. That's almost projecting yourself onto them, keeping them busy. Or maybe it is you volunteering for things at school or saying yes to more projects at work and optional assignments that you don't really want to do. You just keep signing up for these things. Also, half listening to your child when they tell you about their day on their drive home. Griffin is still in the phase of just never ending stories. And we're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But if we are able to like give them our attention, there's actually little nuggets in there that either we can relate to them on, or it tells you what they're really thinking, what they really want to talk about. Or mentally starting the next part of your nighttime routine. And then trying to work during nap time while also doing chores. I don't know if anyone can relate to all of that. But that was me. That was like always doing something, right? And the impact is feeling exhausted, not just like tired, but like on a mental, emotional, physical level, constantly pushing ourselves and our measure of achievement. So when we do, get our kids to their practice on time, then pushing the bar out, feeling, well, they need to be on time every single week, or we need to do this many more activities, or myself at work, I need to be doing this many more workshops, or whatever it is. We keep pushing that out. So we actually never feel fulfilled and we're not enjoying the journey. We're always looking for something else. And what that does is we look back in a week or a year or in 5 years thinking, I didn't do enough as a mom. I didn't do enough at work. I didn't spend enough time with my kids. Again, you default to time and you stress versus feeling like I did enough and I enjoyed it. I see so many moms talking about how time is precious and time, goes by so fast with our kids. In fact, one of my Instagram friends and followers was just celebrating a birthday with her son. And she had this really emotional um, Instagram reel that she did about how fast time goes by. And I know that that's such a common belief. And I have to say that yes, time goes by. Like, on one hand, how is my son 4 years old? But the other hand, I felt so present during every phase of his life that I don't feel that like that's true. Besides the obvious, like, yeah, time goes by. So how cool would it be for you to like be that present where it's like you're taking full advantage of your time and your energy with whoever it is, that you aren't like, oh no, this time is going to pass, this holiday is going to pass. You're truly like there. That comes back to overachieving. Next one is people pleasing, indirectly trying to gain acceptance and affection by helping others and by being the good girl. This is like you feel like you should. A lot of shoulds come up with people pleasers, and you fear disappointing others. This can show up by posting only positive moments on social media for validation, feeling selfish for having personal goals or ambitions outside of your current job, potentially, or outside of being a mom. Also, buying expensive gifts for your kids' friends' birthdays to impress the parents. I also thought this for Valentine's Day. Griffin was sick during Valentine's Day at school, but yesterday we just picked up all of the like Valentines from his friends, and certain parents, because they're four, and like some of the kids in his grade are just turned three. That's not the kid doing it, that's the parents. I'm like, you went overboard. Not overboard, but I'm like, damn, like you put a lot of time and energy into this. And I'm just so curious, is that from a place of like, I love doing this, which is amazing? Or is it from a place of like, all these other moms and dads are looking at what I'm giving my child for Valentine's Day? Um, Changing your parenting strategies based on other people's opinions rather than your own instincts. Neglecting your health appointments while never missing your children's, right? You book your children's appointments like probably 6 months in advance, and then you're like, oh, I'm sick. I probably should have had my annual visit. Or letting your kid eat chocolate before bed. This was me. Some of you guys have already heard this story, but I used to just give Griffin chocolate before bed to just be like, because he was asking for it. And I'd be like, fine, after this one piece of chocolate, then I'll be able to get to sleep, or then he'll maybe go to bed or whatnot. And that's people pleasing. That's me not wanting to upset him and just be like, sure, 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 like push it off. And the impact that this has is that your relationships, even with your kids, stay surface level because they don't get access to the real you, to how you're really feeling, to what you need, to what makes you happy and thrive. And because of that, you ultimately feel resentful. That's the biggest word for people pleasers, is that they show up so much for others and their needs aren't met. And they might not even know what their needs are because they spend so much time fixing other people's needs. Restless is the next one. I'm just going to check the chat. Jess says, oh my God, this is making me reflect on so many memories. Bree says, yes, not celebrating, always looking at what else needs to be done. Haida's guilty of half listening to their stories. Haida says, my oldest is a teenager now, and I want to be way more present because his time at home is coming to an end fast. Yes, I get that. I think about this all the time with my boys and then struggle with why I do some of the things I do, such as not paying full attention to my little ones' never-ending stories. Guilty, just described that above, people pleaser. So next one is restless. This is, I picture restless as jumping. You're the person jumping to from various things, whatever it might be. You're constantly in search of either greater excitement, but also think of it as in search of calm at the end of the day, in search of that achievement, whatever it is that you want to feel, you're constantly in search of it. And so you think that it's going to be the next activity will make you feel driven or accomplished. The next activity is going to make you feel calm and get to the end of the day better. The next activity or tool or strategy is going to help you feel patient and present with your kids. But because of this jumping around, you're rarely at peace or content with the current activity, with your current situation. Examples, like I just said, always jumping from one activity to another. This person also usually never rests, or they feel guilty when you do because there's always something that needs to be done, or FOMO, you're missing out on something else. 4 p.m. strikes and you go through the motions just to be done for the day. and you get lots of ideas for your job and things to do with your kids, and the restless person is worried that they're going to forget them all, so you try to do them all ASAP or find a system to track them, like a million post-it notes. And the impact that this has is that beneath I put fun and excitement of the restless because it can seem fun to like jump from thing to thing, but also beneath the goal of peace and calm and patience, again, whatever that is for you, it's an anxiety-based escape from being present in this moment, even with your kids, even when they're good. It's easy to be like, of course, I don't want to be present when they're bad, like when they're overreacting or what we feel like is overreacting, when they're melting down. I don't want to be present for that. But it impacts us even in the good moments. And they all get jumbled together. And we just think, blah, my work is blah, my kids are blah. You're never happy. And the last one is overthinking. Continuous, intense anxiety almost about questions that pop up that's going on in your life or the actual dangers of what could go wrong. And that vigilance, which can be a good thing, but vigilance that can never rest. Examples of this is thinking about what your boss said or what your partner said yesterday because they said it in a weird tone. So your mental energy has been over analyzing what that meant, what they meant by that, and what the ripple effect might be. Planning your kids' activities based on what you think other moms are doing, or questioning what you do at work and just waiting for like the go ahead from somebody else versus taking the lead, even with some uncertainty. And the impact of this is that you think you're trying to cover all your bases and protect everyone and protect yourself. Like, I remember when I was planning, the night that I was planning on telling my ex that I wanted to separate, I was overthinking galore. I was like, all right, he might react in this way, in which case I will say this. He might do this, and then I will do this. In fact, I'm going to prep this and ahead of time. I was like over the top of like all of the things that might happen and even dangers. I was like, this real date. What if he becomes physical? I don't know. He never has in his entire life or relationship with me, but you never know. And so you're doing it because you think, like in that moment, I thought I'm covering my bases, I'm protecting myself, but it's exhausting you and it's exhausting others around you, inevitably damaging those relationships because they sense that energy from you. They sense that you're spiraling about things that may not be as important as we think they are. Okay, I'm looking at the chat. Bree says, it's me, always pushing till bedtime, calm, and looking for tools, strategies, and routines. I didn't make that slide for you, Bree, but I can see how that is exactly you. This is 100% me. I'm always overthinking everything, even hours or days after it happened. Yeah, and since you know that, Haida, it's never a good feeling. It doesn't feel productive. So, which one of those four resonate with you the most? We did overthinking, restless, people pleasing, and hyperachieving, overachieving. Any one of those where you're like, this one is definitely me. Jess says hyperachiever. Liz, people pleasing. Liz, I have a story about you coming up. Yeah, Haida says it never feels good. Yeah. And it's subconscious. Again, this isn't us like trying to like beat ourselves up. Okay, so now what? We're getting to the solution of what you actually need to do. And it's learn to disrupt those self-sabotaging behaviors, right? Again, you develop those subconsciously. And I won't go into too much detail with this, but you developed those when you were young, like 5 to 7 years old is when those were solidified by. And they kept you safe when you were young. Overthinking, especially, you think again that you're keeping yourself safe, and as a kid that probably is what kept yourself safe, but as you can see now, it's just damaging your mental energy, your relationships, and all of the things. Haida says people pleasing and overthinking. Yes, and so what we need to do is disrupt the self-sabotage. So, my three-step framework for this is strategic awareness, saboteur disruption, and then celebrating. So, we're going to give it a try now. So, take out, if you have a journal, feel free to take that out, or the Notes app on your phone, a Google Doc, a post it note, literally anything. And you are going to be doing what I call an emotional brain dump. I want you to jot down everything on your mind right now, thoughts, ideas, people, problems that you have, uh, anything that you were overthinking recently, to-do list items, frustrations, happy memories. It doesn't all have to be negative or challenging things, but with a focus on releasing any stressors. So if anything is stressing you out right now, just jot it down. And you can do bullet point format. You could free write. If it's helpful to like write a letter style, then you can do that. Okay, so I'm going to set my alarm for just a minute for you to just brain dump. And I'll play some music. Okay. Now, look at what you wrote and see if you can connect each of the heaviest items to one of the saboteurs that we mentioned. Knowing that it might not be possible, there are 6 others, but can you link any of those to, oh, this is me overthinking, or this is me trying to achieve more, or please, or just being restless? Okay. And once you do that, feel free to type anything that came up for you in the chat of from your emotional brain dump or what's feeling the heaviest. Even though you said you related to the hyperachiever, people pleasing, overthinking, you maybe something else came up for you during the brain dump. So feel free to share anything. And then we're going to disrupt. So I call this disrupt journaling. And before we do the journaling prompt, we're going to do presence reps. I'm calling them presence reps today. Again, those of you in the detox already know this, but you're going to get to experience how to begin disrupting your saboteurs, these sabotaging patterns. And there is a unique way to disrupt each and every individual sabotaging pattern. Like people pleasing has its own way, overthinking has its own way. Restless, they all have their very unique way, but one that's able to disrupt all of them are these presence reps. Just as with some of my stressors, I noticed more than one saboteur. Yes. Oh my gosh. So just a quick example. Last week, I was sick, and my mom came over and she helped clean up my kitchen. She did my dishes. She cleaned my whole kitchen. And when she left, she was like, you should really focus on getting some nutrition in your body. And for some reason, my brain went to, oh, she just saw the Doritos that I had on the counter that I got for the Super Bowl. I got 2 bags of chips for Super Bowl. I opened up one. I also have been testing out frozen meals just because they're quicker and, like, easy, and I have this, like, it was a pre-made lasagna from Aldi that I hadn't made yet, but that was in my fridge. I had also ordered chicken fingers for myself when Griffin was sick, 'cause I'm like, "I don't wanna cook." All these things. So, like, I did not have the healthiest kitchen and pantry when my mom was over, and so when she said, "You should really focus on getting some nutrition in your body," immediately, I went into overthinking, and I was like, "Oh, she thinks that I'm, like, being unhealthy. She thinks I'm eating, Cool Ranch Doritos all day, every day." And I felt judged. So judge is another one. And it like then, so I'll keep going. I felt judged of like, oh my gosh, like that's what she thinks of me. She doesn't think that I can take care of myself when I'm sick. And then the next day, I went to go pick up my kitchen again, and I see the bag of Doritos, which I ate. And then there was a little bit left. Like literally, there's this much of the bag, like just the like crumbs. And in my head, I was like, all right, I should just throw this out. But I asked myself, am I throwing it out because I'm truly not going to want the end of those chips? Or am I throwing it out because the next time that my mom comes over, I want her to see that I don't have that food in my house? And it was the people pleasing. Like I didn't want to throw those out. So I rolled up the bag. The bag is like this tiniest little thing right now. And now I almost feel like I'm keeping it in spite of it because I don't even know if I'm going to eat them. But I would jump from like overthinking to judge to people pleasing. So with you saying that, Jess, of like more than one saboteur kicks in, it's very easy for that to happen. I don't think I realized how much overthinking is affecting me and my relationships. That would be something I would think if my mom made that comment. Yeah, and then the other thing, as you guys know, if you've done the Breakthrough Blueprint or the Calm Mind Blueprint, it's always about awareness and then meaning. And so that was the meaning I attached to it was my mom doesn't think that I'm healthy and that I can't take care of myself when I'm sick. But then also it's like, well, what else can be true? And what else could be true is like, what if that none of that happened? She truly was just saw that I was sick and wants me to feel better fast. That could also be true. It's just we get in our heads and we think we get committed to this one idea. Overthink, judge, please. My marriage, restless and overthinking. Okay. All right, sorry, got off track there. Now, presence reps. So we're just going to do less than 2 minutes of this. So to prep, shake out your limbs. I like to always roll my neck, release any stress that might be held there or tension, and close your eyes. And I'm going to turn on some music and guide you through just a quick presence repetition. So with your eyes closed, taking deep inhales through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Noticing the rising and falling of your chest or belly. Really feeling grounded where you are in your seat. Feeling the weight wherever you're sitting supporting you. Paying attention to your breath to the point where you can hear it. Can you hear your own breath? Now, can you focus on a sound in the distance? What else can you hear? And is it a consistent sound? Does it fade? Now bringing your hands to your thighs and rub from your hip all the way to your knee, just light grazes, feeling the difference in textures. Maybe heat starts to generate, and really focusing on anything that you can feel. Bringing your awareness back to your breath. One more inhale and exhale, let it go. And you can open your eyes when you're ready. So that is what I call a presence rep that just gets you back in your body. And it creates some space for you to feel yourself. We've been talking about all these external things. This is one thing that you can do to get back to you and what you feel internally, at least what you feel physically. And so now the disruption journaling, there's lots of different ways to journal through the saboteurs, but I would love for you to just look at what you just wrote down and journal on what assumptions might you be making about yourself or others in general. I put during that situation, but if it's a situation for you or a big emotion, what assumptions are you making about yourself or preconceived notions from others? So just a minute here. That one I like to spend more time journaling on because once I'm able to tap into assumptions, then I'm like, whoa, wait, there's so many assumptions or expectations or judgments here. But any assumptions that popped up for you guys, feel free to type it in the chat. Many assumptions, actually. I'm not surprised. Yeah. For me, it's that rabbit hole that I go down. So the last step is to celebrate. I have 2 slides, just one celebrate. The fact that you did that, it might seem so simple of, the strategic awareness and taking some deep breaths for yourself and those presence reps, and then journaling a little bit more on disrupting it, but celebrating the fact that you literally just started rewiring your brain on how you want to feel and how you want to show up or what might be getting in the way. And so really acknowledging that. And either now or maybe after this call for participating the whole time, do something that feels celebratory, even if it's like shaking your butt. I was at a presentation once, and they were like, you literally can't be upset when you're shaking your butt. And they had everybody get up. They're like, shake your ass in front of everybody. Maybe it's playing a song that you really enjoy and just dancing to it for like 30 seconds even. They say invest in an emotion, a positive emotion for 17 seconds, and you'll get more of that. So maybe it's 17 seconds for you of just like, I did that for myself. I'm rewiring. I'm on the right path, whatever it is that you need to do to celebrate. Knowing that that is how you can do what I just did, what I walked you through later today to feel that balance and drive and validation is coming back to yourself, journaling through anything that comes up for you, coming back to yourself And if you know the saboteur specific disruptors, you can do those. And then celebrating, which is really trusting, knowing and trusting that you are doing the things to rewire your brain and show up differently and feel more energized. So I'm just curious, how much more present or calm or accomplished or validated do you feel right now compared to when you started our workshop? You can drop it in the chat. Liz says more clear-minded. I love that. I feel more calm. Yes. And even just a little bit more, since if this, especially if this is your first time doing it or your first time doing it in a while, is improvement. I think I'm realizing the problem is me. I'm the problem, it's me. Very calm. And I have actually gained some clarity to my stressors and assumptions. I love that. I love that. So taking that time for yourself on a continual basis will feel even better, and you're priming your brain as well so that anytime you do drop into that presence, you're telling your brain, this is important and I'm going to find more of this throughout my day. All of that is proven to work. What the process I just took you through, it's proven that when you do it, you will consistently feel these things. And I just had to share these stats because it's mind blowing to me. So you will feel 90% less stressed. People who do this work consistently feel 90% less stressed. Project teams, speaking of work, perform 31% better when the whole team does this sort of thing. And then workers are less likely to become burnt out or sick. Doctors make accurate diagnoses faster. Students perform significantly better on math tests. And CEOs lead happier teams with a better work climate. All of those are research studies done by the process that I just walked you through. And that's not even including the strategic journaling part. So it's even more so. They also feel more connected to others. They improve in their career, and that's because they feel more creative and they make better decisions. You get better sleep, fewer colds, and lower stress-related hormones. And there was a study where a group of nuns did this work, and the ones who did it versus the ones who didn't lived 10 years longer than those who didn't, which I think is crazy. So a couple more stories. My client Laura, who's currently part of the self-sabotage detox, she was waking up every day feeling overwhelmed, anxious at her job, which she always felt like she should be grateful for it because it's a really good paying and a great job that she worked really hard for. But she felt like she had no present time with her kid, and she was deciding, if her words were, if she should burn it all down to pursue something that she was more passionate about. And we discovered that her top two saboteurs were restless and hypervigilant. And those were keeping her stuck in overwhelm, even when she was thinking about her dream job. We started working together because she thought she was deciding between leaving her job and planning for that or staying at her job. And that was what was making her overwhelmed. And so we addressed the ways to disrupt those saboteurs. And since then, she's created presence habits and a life where she has more space. She created something like 2 or 3 hours back to herself throughout the week and more connection time with her son while creating her dream job long term, not burning it all down right away. My client Jordan went from being stuck, feeling very anxious, stuck in a grief cycle for 3 years. And she felt like again, I feel like this should be grateful is something that is consistent with my clients because she was a stay at home mom and she felt like she should be happy about that, but she felt numb and on edge every day. And after working together, she felt joy every day, waking up, happiness. She picked up a new passion of playing the guitar and is connecting with her spouse and kids more and has a better relationship with food. That was like one of those ripple effects that you don't even think that like your health is related to your schedule maybe, or to like anxiety, but it for sure is. And she wore shorts for the first time in 11 years. And then Liz, I told you I was going to share your story. She was stuck in from being stuck in a people pleasing cycle where she would cater to her friends and family desires over her own. And it's just exhausting for anybody to be in people pleasing. A few of you resonated with people pleasing, and so you know what that's like. And while working together, she is examining her own projections, the perceived expectations, and gaining the courage to speak up about what she wants. On one of our calls, she was sharing that one of her friends like if a friend wants to meet up for dinner, she will just like make it happen, even if she doesn't have the time or doesn't really want to, because she feels like that's not a good excuse. And I can so much relate to that. But realizing that even if your excuse is that you're tired, that is a good excuse. And that is what she wants, and starting to speak up in that way. And she most recently applied for a promotion at work and is holding a better boundary with her friends. Since she's on this call, let's all send her positive vibes about the promotion. And I want you to know that I just taught you what to do on how to show up with more balance and energy and feeling refreshed and not overthinking. But the thing is that the hardest part is doing it on your own. It's simple in theory. Like I literally just told you what to do, but it's like reading those books of personal development books of like, they tell us what to do and do we do it? I don't, at least. I'm not sure if you guys do. And people struggle their entire lives with things like people pleasing, their entire lives overthinking. And it's even different with like courses and books and programs and generalized things, again, that you think you're investing in, like how to manage your time. But hopefully by now you realize it's not your time at all. And it's just different than with a coach and a community and guidance and something that's actually personalized to what you're going through. So that's where I wanted to mention my second round of the self-sabotage detox. We're launching it in March. And this is my program where you're going to break free from those deep internal things that's projecting out into your external world, that is holding you back from the mom that you want to be, from the employee or CEO that you want to be, and ultimately the woman that you want to be and how you want to show up. So it's a 5-month group coaching experience where we're going to look at all the ways that you personally, subconsciously, so you might not be aware of them right away, self-sabotage, work through them and disrupt them, not just like by learning about it, but in real time. And then step into that most confident self, your driven self, your most empowered, loving, energized, refreshed self, without changing your schedule. I mean, your schedule might change as a part of it, but it doesn't need to. You're going to silence your inner critic, set unshakable boundaries, and connect more with those that you love, and reignite your own passion for life. And maybe for you, that's creating more space for yourself, all while learning to prioritize yourself with no guilt. And I just want to say that no one is teaching this in the way that I do with self-sabotage and journaling, where the direct result is a better relationship with your kids and partner, you feeling more patient, finally setting a goal that puts a smile on your face when you think about it, and not moving that measure, not moving that bar out, like actually celebrating yourself when you achieve it. Also, performing at work better, more creatively, making better decisions, and inspiring others to be better too. And ultimately, enjoying your day every day, not in those cycles of waking up overwhelmed from like the moment you wake up thinking about your to-do list, like having a beat to yourself and enjoying your life, not feeling like time is flying by, like you're present, you're grounded in your everyday. And you're about to learn how to get out of your own way and how it'll improve every area of your life. So what's included is 15 live training sessions, and this is all about each saboteur, how to disrupt them, and how it applies to your lifestyle. 5 months of real life integration exercises and coaching with me and in a group setting. the intimate group chat for support, questions, and women with the same goals who are working through the same things as you. A bonus of journaling through my human design course, and access to emotionally empowered journaling prompts and the biweekly workshops. Since you are on this workshop, or if you're watching the replay, you get bonuses. And what that is a few bonuses actually. You get 2 private calls with me. You also get $300 off and payment plans. And then there's also the option for one-on-one coaching. If you are going through today and you feel like you resonate with this, but you're like, but I'm going through something very specific, or something that you just want more one-on-one support with, more access to me than a group setting, then there's the option for one-on-one coaching. And that includes everything that you see here, like the emotionally powered and the self-sabotage detox. So those are the bonuses just for registrations of the workshop. And so the next step, if you are interested in this, is I am opening up 6 spots for the self-sabotage detox. So if you're interested, DM me for a 15-minute chat, super quick. We can chat just via Messenger, or if you want to do Zoom or a phone call. And what we're going to do is a very quick saboteur audit, just check in on which saboteurs are popping up for you and how they show up. If you have any questions about today or the detox, we'll talk about those, and you'll learn about the pricing options that might be a good fit for you. And then if you're like, hell yes, I'm in, you can sign up. And then if it's not a good fit for you, that's okay too. Bonuses that I just mentioned of the 2 private calls and the discount and the payment plans, and on Friday, the February 21st. So if you're watching this, DM me ASAP to get it, to take advantage of that. But the deadline to enroll in general is March 7th, because we start March 10th. The last thing I want to leave you with before picking the winner of the workshop is the ripple effect. A big thing that I've been focusing on for my own decisions is, what is the ripple effect of this, and is it worth it? So I kind of came up with, like, what else stems from you investing in yourself, investing in your emotions, and investing in your desires through the detox. I thought that the ripple effect would be you would come home from work energized instead of depleted. Your kids saw their mom light up at pickup instead of checking their emails. Or maybe when they got dropped off at home, they see you like excited and you're lighting up for them instead of just like on autopilot of, okay, what is the next part of our routine? You can actually enjoy mornings and weeknight dinners without feeling rushed and like rushing through and like trying to get out the door. Having a closer connection with your kids and your partner, also your kids feeling your patience. Our kids pick up on feeling so much more than the words that we say, and they can feel your patience, that you're in touch with your other feelings as well. And because of that, the ripple effect is that they become more emotionally aware too. You can also look back in 1 year and see the difference between how stressed or impatient you were, or whatever it might be, how that was then, and how calm and present your life is now, and almost how time slows down. And finally, you gained the confidence and maybe got the promotion, or put yourself out there, or started hosting the retreats, or whatever it is, and you had something for you. All of that is possible by investing in yourself. And I think that as women, we try to do it alone, or we think that we don't need help. But when you do, so much beauty can come from it. So I just wanted to paint that picture for you. Okay, so stay on as I choose the winner for the workshop. I'm actually going to share a different screen so you get to pick with me. Let me see how I can. Let me stop sharing for a sec. Share screen, name picker ninja. Okay. Jess, Haida, Bree, and Liz. You stayed on until the end. Let me make sure that those are everybody that's on. Jess, Haida, Bree, and Liz. Okay. All right, here we go. Drum roll. Go. Liz! Congratulations, Liz. All right, so you won the workshop for you and up to 3 friends. It can be themed towards something that you guys are going through, a goal that you guys have, anything. We can chat more after this, but congratulations. I lastly just wanted to say thank you guys for your time. Thank you for showing up. Even if you're not interested in the self-sabotage detox, I would love to hear any takeaways that you have from this. And if you're going to practice the tools that we talked about and really feeling into your desires and working through those saboteurs that we talked about. So thank you so much for showing up and participating in the chat. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to DM me and we can keep chatting. But besides that, thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.